Hey, Karim here with Newark. Wanted to share 5 tips with you when you are getting to know somebody for marriage to keep in mind to inshallah ensure some success. Stick around. So the first thing that I think everyone needs to keep in mind here when you're getting to know someone is number 1, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know this is obvious, but some of us, we don't really take it seriously or we don't really understand the implications. And what I mean by that is having a sincere consciousness and awareness of the divine. And this leads to the second tip, which is don't be alone with somebody. Okay, this is something that is very clear that we know in our religious tradition. And so first, but because of our awareness of God, we know that we are not allowed to be alone with somebody. And the reason why we're not allowed to be alone with somebody that we're getting to know for marriage is because when we're alone, we know that the third party is shaitan. But also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that He is also with you. And so this again reaffirms this idea of having awareness of God no matter what your dealings are, but specifically when it comes to this, because when two young people are getting to know each other, or they're feeling lonely, or they're emotionally, charged, things can happen. We're human beings. We have to face the reality. We're flesh and blood here. So things will happen the more you do encounter people alone. So that's something to keep in mind. Step number 3 is, as the Quran commands us, is that when we interact with men and women, that we are not supposed to we are supposed to lower our gaze and have respect. And what that really means is that you are being honorable to the person before you. So this idea of elevator looks or looking at them and thinking about enticing, fantasies and all these types of desires, this is not going to help your process. You have to be very cautious of this and aware of the fact that lust is a real thing and it's going to come up. This is why we are supposed to have consciousness of God, not be alone with the person, and God commands us to lower our gaze and have modesty when we interact with the opposite gender. Some people think that it's haram to interact with the opposite gender completely, and that doesn't make any sense, because if that was the case, then God wouldn't command us to have these etiquettes when we did. Now, some people I know that are, have been young and getting to know people, they say, oh, well, we've never touched each other, we never did anything, but they're, sending text messages that are very sexual. Sometimes they're sending photos, and that all falls under the same category of guarding your private parts. Your privacy means what is sacred to you, and your dignity and honor is sacred to you. So if you are exposing that and making that vulnerable, you are violating this principle, which is going to take away from the barakah of your process. Sometimes people think, well, as long as I don't have full-on intercourse, in other words, I play around with the first, second, and third base, but I didn't hit the home run, then I didn't actually do anything wrong. Wrong. You actually do. Zina has degrees or variation. And lastly, it's very important to involve trusted family and friends. This is tip number 5. Because when we don't do this, we tend to put ourselves in more vulnerable situations, and we are more likely to make mistakes when nobody else around us knows what's going on, who we're talking to, and who we're meeting up with. And those of you who have friends that try to use you as kind of, alibis, like they're going to go meet up with Mahmoud or Maryam, and they call you to tell you, hey, if my mom asks you, tell her I was with you. You are also playing a role in this. You're a partner in crime, so to speak. So you also have to be conscious of that and recognize that even though your friend may really want you to help them and do that, they could be putting themselves in a situation which can cause more harm and evil in the future, and that's something you're going to have to burden and carry on your soul. Again, to summarize these 5 tips, number 1 is to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2 is not to be alone or in private with this individual. Number 3 is to guard our private parts and our honor. Number 4 is to ensure our dignity and self-respect during the process. And number 5, make sure that we invite or initiate our trusted friends and family to know what's going on and get involved in a healthy way so that we don't go astray or make mistakes that we'll later regret. I hope this was beneficial. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share with your friends.